Hello, hi everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our YouTube channel by Infinity Learn by Sri Chaitanya. So let's begin. So we are in the last class. We have discussed about distance and displacement, and I gave you one homework question. You remember? How many of you could solve that question? Hi Adarsh. Good afternoon. So before everyone join, let me just tell you about myself. If you are seeing me for the first time, this is about me. I have PhD in physics from National University of Singapore, BSMS dual degree from ISA Pune, as ranker in JEE Advanced and KUPY. All right. Hi Nilesh. Good afternoon. Meherun. Hi Meherun. Good afternoon. All right. So you remember the question, the homework question I had given in the last class. How many of you could solve it? Hi Yuvraj. Or if you were not there in the last class, can you try solving this? What is the question? Object dropped from an airplane. So there was an airplane and object just dropped from it. Hi Sundaram, Miss Savage. Hi Yuvraj. Good afternoon. So now first statement, you have a question. Yes Nilesh, ask your question. Path of the object is a straight line with respect to the pilot. So when the object was dropped from the aeroplane, the pilot will see that the path of that packet is a straight line. And the statement 2, path of the object is a straight line with respect to the observer on the ground. So which of the two is correct statement, or both of them correct? Class 10 का physics पढ़ना है. Yes Yuvraj. So every week there will be, I think, 1 or 2 classes for grade 10 for physics. So I don't know which day, probably Thursday or Friday. Every Thursday or Friday you will have a physics class for grade 10. We'll learn, no worries, we'll learn every day. Okay, solve this. Yes Nilesh, I'll teach the physics for class 10 as well. So now here I'll show you one animation. You see, now there is a aeroplane, there is an object drop. Now I'm standing, there is a ground observer. Now there is a pilot view. So you see the packet is dropped from the aeroplane. So now tell me, looking at this animation, which one do you think is the correct one? Object, answer number B. Okay, you think B is correct. All right. You see here, when it is a ground observer, the ground observer will see this path. There is a path by the ground observer. This is like a projectile motion, right? So this statement 2, path of the object is a straight line with respect to the observer on the ground, is false. Now the statement 1, path of the object is a straight line with respect to pilot, this is correct. Look at this animation. When the pilot is looking at this object, it will appear to be moving in a straight line, right? So the statement 1 is correct, statement second is false. That is, A is true, B is false. Option number A is correct option. आपका नाम क्या है? Okay, my name is Akash. This is about me, if you are seeing me for the first time. Padmini, it is option number A is correct, not option B. Option A is the correct option. Okay, yeah, my name is Akash. All right. So now in the last class we have learned about a motion along a straight line. I guess you remember. So what happens? The object can move either to the positive of the x-axis or negative of the x-axis. If it is moving along the positive direction, net displacement is along the positive direction. So we say here that displacement is positive, and in this case displacement is negative. So here negative displacement, positive displacement. So displacement will have the sign. Displacement can be positive or negative. Okay, distance will always be positive, but displacement can become negative as well. Velocity, yes, today we are going to learn about velocity. Just give me 5 minutes, I'll explain. Alright, so now before we directly go to the velocity, let's understand what is a uniform motion and non-uniform motion. So let's understand. You see, this is object. So now this object is moving with time. So these are the time stamp. There is a time t is equal to 0. That means you start your clock, right? Then there is a 1 second, 2 second and 3 second. So this object, this car will move how much distance? 5 meters in first 1 second. Then again 5 meters in next 1 second. Then again 5 meters in next 1 second. Right? So the object is moving equal distance in equal intervals of time. Hello? एक मिनट, there is some audio issue. ठीक है? Alright, so there was some audio issue, I guess. They have fixed it. Yes, so we are learning uniform motion. So what is a uniform motion? When the object, you want to see this car? It is moving in a straight line and it is covering equal distances in equal intervals of time. So what is the time interval here? There is a 1 second time interval from this point to this point, again 1 second, again 1 second. Yes, Nilesh, I am going to teach for grade 10 as well. Both grade 9 and 10 I will be teaching physics. So when the car travels equal distances, then that is uniform motion. There is, what is the example? Example is an aeroplane. You see, when the aeroplane is moving, there is a steady motion or it moves with a constant speed. That is a uniform motion. Steady speed or constant speed. There is another example. The earth revolves around the sun. The motion of the earth around the sun is almost uniform. That is why after every 1 year, we will have the same seasons. Why? Because the motion of the earth is almost uniform. Okay, and if you plot distance versus time, you get a straight line. So whenever you plot a distance versus time, and if you get a straight line, that means it is a uniform motion. Now another example. See this car? This car is not traveling uniformly. So what does that mean? There is a time stamp and these are the distances traveled by the car. In first 1 second, it is 2 meters, then 6 meters, then 4 meters. So the car is traveling unequal distances. Travel not equal distances or unequal distances in equal intervals of time. That is a non-uniform motion. And again you can plot the distance versus time. There is a distance versus time. You see this line? This is not a straight line. If the graph of distance versus time is not a straight line, that means it is a non-uniform motion. What is the example? Example is car moving on a crowded street. Like when you move on a crowded street, what will happen? There are signals. There is a green light or red light. When you see the green light, you will accelerate or raise the car. If you see the red light, you will apply the brakes. So car will slow down. So that is a non-uniform motion. Another example, person jogging in a park, it is also not uniform. Why? Because the person will always either he will run faster or run slower, right? Another example of non-uniform motion. Now there is a question. So here, which object is performing non-uniform motion? That is a question. Can you solve? Everyone? There is a time stamp. Now first thing you need to do is find out what is a time interval. You see 9:30 to 9:45. What is the time interval? It is 15 minutes. From 9:45 to 10, again 15 minutes. 10 to 10:15, again 15 minutes. So the time interval is same. Yes, time interval is same. The first check is done. Now the second check. So you have to check here. Observe what is the distance travelled. In the first 15 minutes, the distance travel is 10 meters. Next 10 meters, again 10 meters, again 10 meters. So what is happening here? In equal intervals of time, object is travelling equal distances. So this means there is a uniform motion. Correct? Now the next one, from 12 to 19. The distance travel is 19 minus 12 is 7. Then 19 to 23, which is 4. Then 12. So here what is happening in equal intervals of time, the distances travel is not equal. So whenever this thing happens, there is a non-uniform motion. So what should be the correct option? It is object B is following the non-uniform motion. Clear? Easy? Everyone? Now let's understand what is our rate of motion. So we have learned what is uniform motion, what is non-uniform motion, but there is a something which is more fundamental to it. That is a rate of motion, and we use this in our daily life. Do you know how? You must have seen this. What is this? This is a speedometer. It shows, hi Sundaram, it shows what is the speed of your car, or if you match cricket, then you see this number. So what is this? 153 kilometers per hour. So what is that? That is the speed of this ball when it is thrown. So what is exactly the speed? I hope all of you would have learned it earlier, but let's understand it again. Average speed is nothing but the total distance traveled divided by total time. So whenever the object is moving, let's suppose there is your house, there is your school. You started your journey from your house to school. What is the total distance? 8 kilometers. And how much time is taken? 15 minutes. Right? The time taken is 15 minutes. So can you tell me what is the average speed? How will you calculate the average speed here? It is nothing but, speed is nothing but total distance, which is 8 kilometers divided by total time. 15 minutes is how many hours? It is nothing but 1 by 4 hours. So total distance divided by total time. So this will come out to be 32 kilometers per hour. Right? So now this is how you can calculate the speed of the object, the total distance. And now why it is the average speed? Any idea why it is average speed? Because in this journey sometimes you will see the green signal, sometimes you will see the red signal. Yes, so the car speed might increase, might decrease. So this is the average speed in the total journey. That is what is given by this formula. Total distance divided by total time. And what is the SI unit of speed? It is meters per second. This is a SI unit. There are other units used. For example, kilometers per hour. This is also very commonly used unit for speed. Let's solve this question. Everyone try to solve. Type your answer in the chat. Okay, the object travels 12 meters in 4 seconds, and another 12 meters in 2 seconds. So let's suppose there is a starting point. It travels 12 meters, reach to this point. Let's suppose there is a start. There is point A. From point A, it reached to this point. There is an end point. Another 12 meters. So in the first journey, time is 4 seconds. In the second journey, it is 2 seconds. So what is the average speed? So V average can be calculated as, how will you solve this? Total distance, which is 12 plus 12, which is 24 meters, divided by total time, 4 plus 2, which is 6 seconds, which is 4 meters per second. Yes, nice. Option number 4 is correct option. Yes, Gaju Dhote. Hi, yes, awesome. Let's go to the next question. Any doubts, any questions, anyone? Okay, we have learned these two graphs. So this is what kind of motion? Distance versus time. If it is a straight line, there is a uniform motion. Uniform motion. And this one was non-uniform. Okay. So whenever you have a uniform motion, can you find the speed? What is the average speed? How will you calculate average speed? Let's suppose there is a time 0 to 4. Let's suppose there is in hours. This distance is in, okay, the distance is in kilometers. This is in kilometers. What is the distance travelled in 4 hours? What is the distance travelled in 4 hours? It is 40 kilometers. So what is the average speed? V average is 40 divided by 4, which is 10 kilometers per hour. Now look at this. In the first 1 hour, what is the distance travelled? 10 kilometers per hour. In the second 1 hour, again 10 kilometers per hour. Again 10 kilometers, again 10 kilometers. So what does it tell you? Whenever object travel in the uniform motion, the speed is constant. Speed is constant. And in the next graph, there is a non-uniform motion. The distance versus time graph is not a straight line. So whenever you see something like this, now find out the speed in first 1 hour. It is 20 kilometers divided by 1 hour, 20 kilometers per hour. Then 5 kilometers per hour, again 5 kilometers per hour, 10 kilometers per hour. So whenever object is in non-uniform motion, what do we say? Speed is not constant. So this is how you can distinguish between the two. If it is a uniform motion, speed has to be constant or same. If it is non-uniform motion, speed will change. Speed of the object will change. Clear? Now let's understand velocity. Lot of you were asking what is a velocity. So let's learn what is velocity. And it is nothing but speed with a specific direction. Speed with a certain specified direction is called as velocity. For example, you see this rocket. Rocket has a speed. It is moving in certain direction. There is a fixed direction in which this rocket is moving. So whenever you have something like this, we say that the rocket has a fixed velocity. Velocity also can change, right? When you change the direction, this direction, if you change the direction, velocity will change. If you change the speed, then velocity will change. How will you change the speed? Either increase the speed or reduce the speed. When you increase or reduce the speed, velocity will change. Clear? Now, for uniform velocity, what is a uniform velocity? It means, uniform means constant. For a constant velocity, That means the speed should be same, direction should be same. The direction of the object is not changing and even the speed is not changing. So in that case, the velocity can be written as displacement divided by time. So what is velocity? It is this. Now we know the displacement is a vector quantity, and because of that even velocity is a vector quantity. Do you know how to write down vectors? You write vector as there is a v vector is equal to displacement vector divided by time. So there is a v, there is a symbol for vector. The arrow is a symbol for vector. That means there is a velocity vector. There is a displacement, there is an arrow, there is a displacement vector divided by time. Clear? So there is velocity, very simple concept. Now these are the differences between speed and velocity. What is speed? It is a scalar quantity. That means it has only the magnitude, only the value, that is, let's suppose value is 5 meters per second. Only the magnitude, only the value you will get in the speed. In velocity, you will have the magnitude and direction. For example, magnitude is 5 meters per second, and then you write the direction, that is towards left. So this is the magnitude and this is the direction. That is the reason velocity is a vector quantity. It has both magnitude as well as direction. Okay. So now the speed. What is the definition of speed? It is distance divided by time. What is the definition of velocity? Displacement divided by time. Clear? So now the speed can be 0 or positive. Why? Because the distance, it can be 0 or positive. The speed can be 0 or positive. The velocity, it can be 0, positive or negative. Velocity can become 0, positive or negative. Now let's solve this question. Okay, what is the question? In which of the following case of motion the speed and the average velocity are equal? Let's learn what are these three different types of motion. First is car is moving on a straight road. So let's suppose there is a straight road, there is a car here. This car is moving on the straight road. So when the car is moving, then what will happen? Let's suppose car travels this much distance, right, on a straight road. So distance is equal to displacement. In this case, distance is equal to displacement. And because of that, because of this, if you divide by time, what is this? Distance by time, it is speed. Speed will be equal to displacement by time, which is velocity. So option A is the correct option. Let's learn about other options. Car is moving on a circular path. So let's suppose there is a car is moving on a circle. Car start journey here, and let's suppose it moved and came to this distance. Then this straight line will be the displacement, and this path is distance. So displacement is not equal to distance. In the second case, there is a option number B. There is a option number A. So displacement not equal to distance. That is the reason this car, in this case, the speed and the average velocity are not equal. Now the pendulum is moving to and fro. Do you know how the pendulum looks? Pendulum is something like this. There is a string and there is a bob. So this bob will move in this direction and it can come to this. In that case, what is happening? This straight line is the displacement and this curved line is the distance. So there is the option number C. So even here displacement not equal to distance. That is the reason speed and velocity are not equal. Now the next one, Earth is revolving around the sun. It is same as this circular motion. This is the Earth, for example, moving around the sun. So displacement not equal to distance. So even this is wrong. So only the correct option is option number A. So when the speed and the average velocity are equal, when the object is moving along a straight line. Whenever object moves along the straight line, the average speed and the average velocity and the speed, they are going to be equal. Clear? Easy, right? Solve this. It is a multiple correct. Choose all the correct options. So change in which of the following physical quantities can change velocity of the object. So there are these qualities, these physical quantities, you change them, each one of them, try to change and check if they can change the velocity. Let's understand what is velocity. Velocity is simply the speed with a specific direction, that is velocity. Speed with specific direction is the velocity. Okay, Spidey? Okay, Vinay says it is option B. Nice, Vinay. Let's find out by changing the object's speed. So now let's suppose the object is moving in this direction. It has earlier, let's say, speed u, then it has finally speed v. Now you can increase or decrease the speed. When you increase or decrease the speed, what will happen? The magnitude of the velocity will change. So even just by changing the speed, you can change the velocity. So this option A is the correct option. These are multiple correct. So there can be more than one options correct. Someone who is in the world. Okay, nice. Yes, correct. Someone who is in the world. Nice. By changing the object direction. So let's suppose the object is moving in this direction. After some distance, object take a turn and started moving in this direction. So what happened? Earlier this was the velocity. Velocity has this direction. Let's suppose there is a velocity u, initial velocity. There is a final velocity, velocity v. So now because you have changed the direction, this u is not equal to v. So just by changing the direction, you can change the velocity. So even option B is the correct option. Now let's look at the third one. By changing the shape of an object. Now you see here, for all the different objects, I just put a circle, because in physics the shape of the object most of the times doesn't matter. Whenever we learn the motion, we just write a dot or a circle, because the shape of the object doesn't matter in this kinematics, unless and until we are not using any forces, right? So by changing the shape of the object, we are not changing the velocity. So this is not correct. Only correct is option A and B. Hi Poonam, good evening. Anshul, good afternoon. Shivam, good afternoon. Can you teach about scalar and vector? Shivam, in the last class, I told about the scalar and the vector in that distance and displacement class. You can go and watch that class, okay? It's very easy, very simple. Or maybe give me like 5-10 minutes after this class, I'll again repeat what is a scalar and vector. Alright, okay, there is a homework question. Nice, we are almost towards the end. So this is a homework question. I'll explain you the question. The displacement of the particle is given by this equation. So x is measured in meters, t is measured in seconds. We have to find out the distance covered by the particle in first 4 seconds. This is a question. This is not a trivial question. So try to solve this question. Trivial means not a easy kind of questions. You just look at it and you won't be able to solve. So you have to put some thoughts, then only you can solve this question. Okay. So now I'll quickly tell you what is a scalar and vector. Very simple. So scalar and vectors. Scalars are those quantities, they have only magnitude. They have only magnitude. And what is magnitude? It is a value. Magnitude is nothing but value. For example, let's suppose you measure the time. Time is a scalar quantity. This scalar is a vector. So time you measured in, let's suppose 5 seconds. This is how the time you measure, right? Seconds, minutes, hours. So these are only the values. Or you measure the mass. So mass of the object you measure in grams, kilograms. So again a scalar quantity. They do not have any direction. Now what are the vectors? They have direction and magnitude both. They have the direction as well as magnitude. What is the example? Force. Let's suppose there is an object and you apply the force of 10 newtons. So now here you see there is a value. How much force? 10 newtons. And what direction? This is the direction. So it has both magnitude and direction. So such quantities are called as vectors. An example is force, displacement, velocity. These are the examples of the vector quantities, right? Clear? Easy everyone? So that's it for today. This homework question, solve it and join my next class. Next time, join the physics class. I'll give the answer for this question. Alright. What is the speed of light in water? It will depend on what is the refractive index of the water. You find out the refractive index and the speed of light in vacuum divided by the refractive index, that would be speed of light in water. Alright, that's it for today. Thank you so much. This is a Telegram channel. Here you will get all the notes, lot of different questions. You can interact with all the faculties. You can ask questions. I'm not sure if you can type there, but yeah, you will get all the content in this Telegram channels. When you will start another class? Yeah, nowadays they have reduced my classes somehow because I am engaged in some other activities. So next Monday we'll have another class. The physics class next Monday 3 p.m. and the grade 10 class coming Friday at what time? 4 o'clock, I guess. Yeah, every Friday 4 o'clock physics grade 10, every Monday 3 o'clock physics grade 9. Alright everyone, bye bye, take care.